Εξομολογήστε το Κύριο διαγραφός, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια.
You know that Mark and Matthew are not actually Mark and Matthew, like, they're not actually right. So the disciple Mark and Matthew,
These are disciples of Christ.
yeah, they didn't actually write the book. They didn't actually write the book.
No, they did write the books. They did.
Okay, it's consensus upon Christian scholarship that they did not write the books.
No, the names are not written in the scriptures.
No,
but the
I'm
church-
saying-
they wrote it down. They gave them scriptures to the churches. The church father clarified it. They knew who these people were. Hence, they confirmed it. Right, you can go through. Saint Clement of Alexandria. Saint Clement of Alexandria wrote
But
about
what I'm
Matthew.
saying, if we-
Polycarp wrote about John writing the
What
Bible.
I'm saying, if we look at earlier manuscripts, there's no name of Mark and Matthew.
Right, I agree with that. That's what I said.
So they're attributed
I
to
said
Mark
that to
and
you.
Matthew. So they're attributed to Mark and Matthew.
The church attributed to them because they knew who these people were.
Okay.
When they gave the scriptures to them, right, when
Okay.
Matthew was writing his narration, when Mark was writing his narration,
Yeah.
when John was quoting his narrations, they gave it to the church leaders. These church leaders knew who these people were. Hence, they later on attributed to these
Okay,
people.
let me ask you a question then. So if Matthew is a testimony from Matthew, correct?
Right.
And then Mark is a testimony from Mark, then how come 77% of Mark is in Matthew?
What do you mean? No, it's not.
It is.
Okay.
Oh my God, it is.
Because Matthew's gospel
let me-
was
let me-
used
no, let me help
as an
you out here.
interpretation from
No, no,
Mark.
let me help you out here.
Mark used his from
Matthew
Peter.
copied Mark. Matthew copied Mark. That's the only
Can
way
you give me
it is.
proof? Can you give me proof?
70% of Mark
Yeah,
is
can
in
you give me
Matthew.
proof?
I'll show you right now.
Okay.
70% of Mark is in Matthew. Let me give you an example. So for example, you know the feeding of the 5,000?
Yes.
In the gospel?
Right.
Word for word it is the same. In the
Right,
Greek
because it's
and
an
in the
event
English.
that had happened.
But what I'm
It's
saying,
an event that
But
happened.
what I'm saying, even if we look at hadith, I'm gonna use
So why doesn't Mark bring the resurrection? Why does Matthew bring it in then?
Pardon?
Why doesn't Mark include the resurrection?
Because
Why does Matthew include
Matthew was written later with a theological understanding and it was portrayed upon the text.
Okay.
For example.
it? So there is no differences because Matthew included the resurrection, but Mark didn't. So how is it copied word for word?
No, I never,
You said word for word.
No, I never said
77%.
70%. He's not even listening to
You
it.
said it's copied.
I said 77. Okay, the rest is, in my opinion, just Matthew just adding his theology into it. And if, for example, even if we look at John.
But I confess to you that the disciples, they were like, so for example, Peter, pretty much Mark used Peter's analogy.
Okay, here's my
right?
argument. Here's
So
my argument. Let me
I confess to you that the disciples were looking upon their other disciples' narrations, but they also looked at other people's who may have like, if say for example Mark missed something, Matthew would
How
include
do you
in
know
that.
that they're authority? How do you know that they were truthful? Where's the chain of narration?
Because that's not my, it's a paradigm. When I look at the Bible, when I see how they write their gospels, when I see how they write about like going against man's desires, losing your life for the gospel, the things they are writing in these gospels, it shows to me it cannot be made up.
Okay.
Because the main theme of the gospel is about losing your life.
Okay.
Come to Christ and losing your life.
Okay.
If somebody wants to
Mark-
start a religion,
did
kickstart a
Mark-
religion,
Mark never
they would
preached-
never go against going your own
Mark never
desires.
preached resurrection, correct?
Right.
Everyone says that the last 12 verses are additions. Even Christian scholars admit this.
yeah.
And then we have, for example, everything from the Q source. You know the argument of the Q source. So, for example, everything that is not found in Mark, everything that's not found in Mark and is found in Luke and Matthew, people trace it back to another source. Correct?
Okay.
In the Q source, there is no preaching of the passion narrative and the death of Christ.
Okay.
Correct?
I
So
agree with
what
that.
we understand here is that the earlier sources, for example, Mark and the Q source, preach nothing about a death of Christ. And
Yeah, but the other three gospels did. So what?
but they're later. Okay, so
Yeah, so what?
they're later and
So what?
they're not as reliable.
Okay, so what?
What do you mean so
If they're later.
What do you mean so what? I'm saying they're not as reliable.
How? How are they not reliable? Because the gap between Christ's death
Okay, so
to
Matthew-
Christ died in 30 AD.
Yeah.
Matthew and Luke was written probably around 60 AD. That's a 30-year gap.
Excuse me?
Most historical.
No, repeat that.
Christ died around 33 AD.
Yeah.
Right. The Gospel of Matthew and Luke was probably written around 60 to 70 AD. That's at least a 30 to 40-year gap. Most historical events that happen, the manuscripts that you have are written for example, like Alexander the Great. Their biographies are written 300 years later. No historians doubt about that.
No, but what I'm saying is that the nooks and crannies of the argument, what I'm saying is that for Matthew himself, for you to claim that it's a whole different testament. It's a whole different testament. I'm just going to use hadith as an example. I'm not saying hadith. Just listen to my point, please.
Okay.
So, for example, hadith. Let's say the Prophet did something. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he did something, every narrator of the hadith is going to narrate it slightly differently in wording. Correct?
Okay.
In wording. For example, he might use a fronted adverbial. He might use a subordinate clause. He might use something different in the terms of the language. He might narrate it differently. But what I'm saying, if we look at Matthew and Mark, 77% of Mark is in Matthew. So
Okay.
it's not
What
about
about the 5%?
Wait, huh?
I said, what about the other 5%?
Okay, we'll get to that. But what I'm saying is the 77% that is in Matthew is not a separate testimony. It's literally the author of Matthew looking at Mark and going like that.
But I confess to you, Mark and Matthew must have looked at Mark. So Mark was getting everything from Peter.
Yeah.
Peter was Mark's authority. Let me explain. Mark was using Peter's narration, and Mark was writing it down. When Matthew was writing, let me explain. When Matthew was writing his gospel, he had to look at Mark's gospel.
Oh, so
right?
yeah, so you agree with
I
it?
agree. I said that. Yes, I agree with that.
So why is it a separate
So
testimony?
Matthew had to agree with it, but it's because Matthew had included other things which Matthew must have not included. Mark must have not included.
Sources?
What do you mean? What's the sources?
Okay, so we
It's chain of
agree-
narration.
No, I never asked that. I said sources. Listen carefully. Look.
It's chain of narration.
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm
Saint
genuinely-
Ananias, Saint Melios,
Okay, let me get to the nooks and crannies of my argument. Look.
Clement of Alexandria. These people quoted
I know they quoted
Matthew's
them.
gospel.
Of course they did. I'm not asking about that. I'm saying, okay, Matthew, 77% of Matthew is in Mark. No,
Okay.
77 of Mark is in
Right.
Matthew. The latter, a part of the Gospel of Matthew, where does it come from?
So the people who Mark must have missed out. Matthew must have got their narrative
Who are they?
and
Who
got
are
them.
they? Who are they?
The audiences. We know there was 500. There's not going to be. I confess to you, we don't know their
Where
names.
do you get the claim?
So for example, right now there's an accident that happened. The police, what they're
Where
going
do you
to
get
do,
the claim of 500?
what the police going to do from the gospel, from the book of Corinthians, what the police are going to do, they're going to go to these people one by one and quote their testimonies.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to match up word for word. We confess that it's not going to match up word for word, but the story lines up.
Okay.
With the crucifixion and resurrection, not everything matches up word for word.
Okay.
It shows they're not really
So you
copied
said-
it word for word,
so you said
but the story
matches
lines up.
You said
Yes.
the story matches up. Okay, so here we have our sources. We have Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Actually,
Okay.
Luke, Acts, and John. Correct?
Okay.
So here we have Matthew. Matthew is Mark first. We'll agree with Mark. Mark is who's Mark? You tell me who Mark is.
So Mark he was known as a lawyer. He was a companion of Paul. He came later on. He was, I believe, he was born in Galilee or something like that. And Mark, and he got his narration from Peter. So we know Peter was, preaching, quoting things. Mark was using Peter's, preachings. He wrote it down. Then Matthew later on would have read Mark's gospel. Then he would have, probably, he would have wrote it down on his
Okay.
part. And the things that Mark must have missed out, he would have went to later audiences and
So
wrote that
Mark
down.
wrote about the crucifixion, correct?
I believe he wrote about the crucifixion, but not the resurrection.
Okay.
But Matthew wrote about the resurrection.
Okay, and Peter, where was he during the crucifixion?
Peter, he ran away, but
He
John,
ran
we
away.
know John was there, Mary
Okay,
Magdalene was
hold
there.
on, hold on.
But can I explain to you now?
Okay,
Because
hold on. No, let me make
where
my
was
point.
Muhammad's disciples at the
Let me make my
crucifixion?
point.
Because you're always going to the Quran. Where was Muhammad's disciples at the crucifixion?
Okay, your question-
Where was Muhammad's disciples
Okay,
at the
let me tell you.
crucifixion?
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Okay, 100%. Okay, the claim from the Muslim perspective is that Muhammad ﷺ was not there at the crucifixion.
Was his disciple? I said his disciples.
What do you mean his disciples?
Muhammad's companions, his
Oh,
Sahabas.
no,
They weren't there.
Okay, they weren't
Thank you
there.
very much.
So, but you have to understand that for
You're
my
being a
claim,
hypocrite
for my claim is that the Quran is from God, and God was perceiving-
Exactly. The Bible, we believe, was inspired by God. These men, they were having the visions,
Okay,
revelations
so you're claiming-
from
So
God.
you both have claims.
Exactly.
So
But
at the end of the day, you both
not
have
only
claims.
that, we also have disciples such as John, Apostle John,
they got testimony too.
Mary. These people were witnessing the crucifixion.
Okay.
Later on, the disciples saw Christ come back from the grave with hold in his hand. Now I come back to you. I come back to you now. I come back to you. Why are you trusting Muhammad, who never saw the crucifixion or resurrection, or his disciples and his companions have never met Jesus Christ? Or you have external sources of the disciples of Jesus Christ, the disciples of Isa, the disciples of Isa, saying that Jesus Christ was never,
destroy him on this point right
saying
now.
that Jesus Christ was never crucified. The disciples of
Okay,
Christ.
before I go to Muhammad ﷺ, even though I use him as an authority because he's the last messenger of God, I can go back to first century Christianity and I can see Ebionites, I can see...
No.
Hold on.
The disciples of Christ.
Hold on.
The disciples of Christ.
Hold on. I can see Ebionites, I can see Nazarenes that
So,
accepted...
okay,
Wait, let me
Ebionites,
finish
you want
my
to
I know
go?
exactly where you're going.
Let me finish my point.
Let him land
please.
this, bro. I
Please,
like
let me
this
finish
one,
my
I like
point.
this.
Look, for example, for example.
No, you're straw manning my
I'm
argument. You're
gonna-
straw manning my argument.
gonna-
I said that the disciples of Christ, that they were known in these Gospels.
Okay.
In these Gospels, where would these people say Jesus Christ wasn't crucified? That
Wasn't
the
crucified.
disciples
I never
of
made
Christ.
that claim. I don't care about your claim.
But I'm asking you the question. I'm asking you the question.
Okay. There might be no disciples. Okay, first of
Exactly,
all,
that's
for you
it,
to-
there's disciples.
it's
I see what you're
it's
saying.
circular reasoning. Let me tell you why it's circular reasoning. Because for you to claim that I have to see one of the disciples saying that Jesus is crucified and resurrected.
Look, you're being a hypocrite.
it
You
goes- no, it goes
great. You
back-
came to that question to me, so I'm bringing it back
Okay,
at you.
it goes back to the text.
You're being a hypocrite.
No, but it's a problem. It goes back to the text. Because when we go back to the text, we have to reanalyze the text. Because for you to say that I have to go back to the text to see what the disciples said, I don't even believe the text is reliable.
I'm not going to the Bible. I'm saying about the Quran. Okay, that the disciples that were known in the Bible, such as Peter, Mark, John, and Luke, right? These people show me the external sources of these disciples who died for their faith, preaching that Christ was crucified. Exactly, there's no external sources.
Okay.
There's no external
Okay,
sources. So
okay,
you have
wait.
no claim to make that Christ was not crucified or resurrected.
Yes, I do.
You give me the claim then.
Okay, but what I'm saying, look, everyone, okay, you're Nicene Trinitarianism, correct?
Okay.
What I'm saying is for you to come and claim this, I can show you earlier sources from what you claim. Okay, so what we have, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. What are the earliest manuscripts we have? The latest.
The earliest full sources. So we have
full
we have.
sources of 4th century.
Okay, so we
Codex
have.
Sinaiticus and Codex
No, we have fragments, right?
Yeah.
We have fragments.
And you
Like
said-
you have the Birmingham manuscript. You want to go to the. You always go.
I didn't even say anything
You guys,
about
the
Birmingham
Muslim,
manuscript.
the regular Muslims always go to the Birmingham manuscripts
talking
when they
about
have
the
little
Bible, stop going
fragments.
to the Quran.
Yes, we have
Full manuscript. Please.
No,
let's talk
you're
about full manuscripts.
okay. So full manuscripts.
4th century.
4th century. But we have fragments which are still reliable from the 2nd century. We have church father quotations from the 3rd century as well.
Cool. But what I'm saying.
But you still have to answer my question. You have not. You answer my questions. Show me what my question was. Show me in the Quran, right? Show me in the Quran where the disciples of Jesus Christ, their name. Give me their names. The disciples of
Why would I
Isa.
need to do that?
Give me the names. You asked me for the names.
No, I genuinely want to understand why you're asking
So,
this question.
because I want proof. You asked me for the proof. Who was Mark? Who was Matthew? Who was John Luke? Now I want to know in Surah. I want to know in the Quran, because it says in the Quran that Isa
Yeah.
was crucified and Allah replaced him. Right? I cannot trust
Where
the.
does the Quran say that?
Surah, it says that he was not he was on the cross.
You're strawmanning the
He was
Quran.
Surah 4175. Surah
Yeah,
4175.
the
He was on the
tafsir-
cross and
the
Allah replaced him. Okay, that's what he
The
said.
tafsir
That's
says
what.
that. The tafsir, the Quran says ما قتلوه وما صلبوه ولكن شبه لهم. Please quote the Quran correct. I don't do that.
So
with the Bible.
okay, let's
That's
get the verse.
necessary.
Let's get the verse up. Let's get the verse up.
He's going to the tafsir.
Because you're going to
What are you
the-
talking about?
Okay.
The tafsir.
That's
Ibn
his claim
Kathir
that you
says
haven't said it
that.
properly, so let's bring it out.
You're
That's
facing
it.
mantis. Okay, let's get the verse up.
Let's bring it out.
Because
I'm not denying it. He might.
yeah, the verse is. My question was that Isa, right? He was on the cross, right? Then Allah replaced him for somebody else. He was made to appear that he was somebody else on the cross.
Yeah, but did Allah
So not
say-
only do you have Allah deceiving mankind to start their own religion called Christianity, right? But also, I want to know now about the disciples of Isa from external sources.
Okay.
The disciples of Isa
Okay.
who died
Okay.
for preaching the faith. Peter, Mark, John, Matthew, Luke.
Do you agree?
I want you to show me.
The replacement of Isa on the cross.
Okay, I want you to show me where these disciples, external sources, apart from the Bible, preached that Christ was replacing the cross.
Okay.
Show me.
Okay, first we'll go to the Quran. Pull up chapter 4, verse 157.
Brother, your tafsirs are trash, man. Because your scholars, what they do.
Respect. I never came at your scholars. Please have some
Okay,
respect.
but what your tafsirs do, they like
We're having
to.
a cordial
Okay,
conversation.
It's a great conversation, by the way.
okay, I should can. So what tafsirs do, what I see is they make a narrative
Okay,
to
but
try
why-
to stick,
Why are you jumping to
to allow
exegesis? Let's
people
look what
to
the
stick
text
to their own
says.
deen.
Let's look what the text
okay.
says. Stop jumping.
Surah 4, 157, 1.8.
Is that the one?
Bro, you already know it.
Okay.
Go to it.
I'm gonna bring that one up.
And then I'll go to your point about Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
Let me see. Is this one? No, it's 171.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
this
that
one.
one.
Wait.
ما قتلوه
Yeah.
وما صلبوه ولكن شبه
And they said, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary. But they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him to them. And indeed, those who differ over it, that's what, of course you're going to say that.
Hold on.
And indeed, those who differ over it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it except the following of assumption. And they did not kill him for certain. Rather, God raised him to himself, and ever is God exalted in mighty way. Yes, so what we can see that Christ Jesus was replaced by somebody else. Allah made to appear that it was somebody else upon the cross, and he raised somebody else.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? So when it, okay, and they said, okay, I know it doesn't say the cross, but when we see the historical evidence that Jesus Christ, where he was at that time, he was on the cross. So when we look at historical evidence, he was on the cross. And the historical evidence the Quran brings later on that he was not, he was replaced by somebody else.
What are your historical evidence? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, bring it.
What are your historical evidence for the crucifixion?
My historical evidence,
correct? The Gospels.
not just the gospel,
And the church fathers.
church fathers.
Crucifixion.
To be fair, I feel like a lot of questions have been posed to him.
Yeah.
Since I've been watching, he's been defending his faith, but I don't feel like you've been on.
So,
I'm literally asking you this question.
the Quran says, okay, I get you. So we know. So we, okay,
Are you able to answer him without giving an answer, asking another question?
That's why I said question for question in the first place.
so we know in history Christ was on the cross. There's no doubt about that. All scholars, everybody believes Christ was on the cross. But then your source, listen, your source says that he was replaced or he was
what are my sources?
Allah made
Let's
to
define
appear
terms.
that somebody
Let's
else was
define
on the
terms. What are
cross.
my sources?
The Quran, the Quran.
Okay,
That's what you bring
is
in.
number one. And I have first century, early Jewish Christian groups that denied the crucifixion,
Okay.
accepted
But
the
they still
virgin
believed it was on the cross, right?
birth.
Kind of.
No, they didn't.
The Ebionites.
No, not just the Ebionites. I can show you from Ignatius of
Who?
Antioch,
Okay.
in his letter to Trallians and his letter to Magnesians,
Okay.
he clearly says that there's Jewish Christians in the first century who are a majority that deny the crucifixion, deny the deity of Christ, and accept the virgin birth. I can show you right now.
Okay. Bring it
That
up.
is one of my
Okay.
sources. That is earlier than the Gospels you have. Just to
Okay.
clarify. So I have a source from the first.
Earlier than the Gospels?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can also show you sources that these groups were saying.
So how were these people Jewish Christians when they didn't believe in the crucifixion or resurrection?
What are you talking about?
To be a Christian, you must believe in the
Okay,
crucifixion. So
no.
how are they Christians?
What
You
does-
have to.
What is the meaning of Christ? What is the meaning of Christian?
Christians to follow Jesus Christ,
Okay,
right?
follow
And believing in his
Jesus Christ.
crucifixion and his resurrection.
Okay, but
that's what it
I'm saying,
means.
okay, that was a good question. I'll give it to you. What we understand is from when Ignatius speaks about these guys, he says that these people say that Ignatius has a false gospel. He says the text
Wait,
that Ignatius has-
I agree with you because if you look at the Apostle John was writing to people who denied, Christ died on the cross.
No.
But they still believe that he said something and that he was on the cross. You know what I mean? He was still
No,
on
but they are not saying this. They say that it was only appeared. Jesus only appeared to be crucified. It's a first
Exactly,
century
so they
source.
still believe that he was on the... So either way, they still
where did they
saw
get it
him
from?
on the cross.
Okay, so where
They
did
still
get it
believe
from?
they saw
So
him on
where
the
did they
cross.
get it from? So where did they get it from?
Who?
These first century Christian Jews. Where did they get it from?
Because so the reason why they believed in crucifixion, right?
They didn't. Not listening.
The Jews. Those Jews firstly believed in crucifixion, then they later on became Christians.
No,
I'm
not
talking
saying
about the
that. I'm not
converts.
saying that. Listen, please
Okay.
listen to my claim. I'm saying Ignatius of Antioch, one
Right.
of the church fathers, is writing a letter to the Trallians and Magnesians,
Right.
and in this letter he is saying that there's Christian Jews, Ebionites, and Nazarenes that accept the virgin birth, that deny the crucifixion.
Ebionites. Eusebius, because if you look at Eusebius and Irenaeus, he talks about the Ebionites pretty much believe that Christ was crucified. But
I'm saying Christian Jews. I'm saying Christian Jews because Christian Jews is a.
But which one? Because there's different types. Because you have the Jews because
Ignatius
because
said this.
the early.
Was I there to know?
Listen,
I'm saying Ignatius said
No,
this.
but you have to tell me which type because the early Jews,
Okay,
the
go
early
and ask
Jews,
Ignatius.
the early Jews
Ignatius said
believed
in
in
the
the crucifixion and resurrection.
Am
Then
I
later on
Ignatius?
converted to
Am I
Christianity.
Ignatius?
Why are you getting pressed now? Why are you getting pressed now?
He's giving you a source. He's saying what the source is.
Exactly,
He's not saying
Ignatius
he's
said
saying.
Yeah, but either way, let's say for the sake of argument, they still believe they saw Christ on the cross. Whether it's a hallucination or not, they still believe somebody was on the cross.
Okay,
You said that they never saw Christ on the cross.
When did
Either
I
way.
say that?
Yes, you did.
Okay, even if I did or if I didn't, I just showed you a source that is earlier from the Gospels that shows my claim and doesn't show yours.
But they still believe
And you-
Christ was on the cross.
Okay, Christ was on a cross. That's
Exactly,
no problem.
thank you.
But what I'm
We got
saying-
Christ on the cross now.
But what I'm
They don't
saying,
believe he was God though.
they didn't
Okay,
believe he was God.
okay, that's fine.
They
But
believe in
that's
the virgin birth, and they believe Jesus.
But they
was
still
crucified.
believe they saw somebody on the cross, right? Whether it's a hallucination or not, they still believe they saw Christ on the cross.
Yeah, but no one's denying this. When
You
did I-
denied that, yes, he did. You said earlier that the early first century Jewish Christians or the early first century, you know people, you can quote sources where they didn't believe they saw Christ crucified. Whether it's hallucination or not, they still saw him crucified.
Because this is disputed.
So now you're changing your argument. Now you're saying yes.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm saying that it's disputed if Jesus was even crucified on a crucifix.
No, you didn't say that. I
That's what I'm
got what you said. I heard him very well. He said the first century people, right? They deny the crucifixion. They did not see Christ on the cross.
It's no problem.
But whether there was a hallucination or not, they at least saw someone on the cross.
Okay.
But the hallucination, the swoon fairy, what you ever want to call it, goes down the bus. How can over 500 people? How can so many people hallucinate? This man come back from the grave. Listen, no. I'm gonna make my claim. I'm gonna ask you a question because you haven't answered my claim. Okay, how can so many people see Christ crucified, see him go to the tomb, come back from the grave with holes in his hand? And this man they had dinner with, they had fellowship with for 3 years. They knew who this man was. How can so many people be hallucinating? Then 3 days later, they see this man. This man spends 40 days with him, right? And he appears to them in many different forms. And he tells these people that he has succeeded in the work which the Father has sent him to do. Then they see him ascend all the way to heaven. Which shows that he was divine, which shows that his claims he's making was true. Now my question I want you, which you still have no answer to, I want you to show me where external sources or the disciples of Christ, these disciples who died for their faith, that in history have known for dying for their faith, I want you to show me external sources where they preached a gospel that shows Christ was not crucified or did not resurrect. Show me now.
An apostle.
The disciples of Christ who died for their faith.
James the Just, the brother of Christ.
He believed in crucifixion, resurrection.
He might believe. No, he didn't believe in he didn't believe in Pauline Christianity.
Okay, so now you say, but you believe in crucifixion, resurrection, though. Agree? He was
a law-abiding Jew.
But did he believe in the crucifixion, resurrection?
He believed in the.
No, you got that complete. Okay, thank you. You got that's a foundation of Christianity.
Okay. Let me make my point. Okay, if a Jew at the time of Jesus believes in the crucifixion,
right,
it doesn't nullify his Islam. So if he believes Allah is one, and he believes that Jesus is the prophet, and he doesn't believe that Jesus is God, let's say he believes that Jesus is crucified, it doesn't nullify his Islam.
It
doesn't go against the core doctrine of Islam, because God says, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. It's normal for them to believe. That's my point.
That's not the okay. So even if James is just, because he was the leader of the Council of Jerusalem, and if you look at the Council of Jerusalem, the debate was about the Pharisees. He himself believed it was about the Pharisees. No, because that's what I'm saying. Because the Pharisees believed that we must follow the law. But the disciples of Christ, Peter, you had Paul, they proved that we are saved by grace, proved that we are saved by the blood of grace, proved by Jesus' teaching, the disciples who were with Christ, that Jesus himself said we do not need to follow the law, but we're underneath a new covenant. Now James the Just, I said to you, show me where the disciples of Christ, the disciples who were living in Christ, who died for their faith. We know James died for his faith. We know Peter died for his faith. Paul died for his faith. Matthew died for his faith. John died for his faith. Show me. Actually, John did not die for his faith, but he pretty much got persecuted really badly for his faith. He nearly died, but he got saved. But show me any of these disciples from external sources where they did not believe in the crucifixion. Not about the law, but the crucifixion.
So what I'm saying is, my point is that the crucifixion, I'm not saying that the crucifixion didn't happen.
Thank you.
What I'm saying,
he did.
Okay. Even if I did, I didn't mean it. I must have misspoke. What I'm saying is that for the crucifixion to happen and people to record it is normal, because God said that it was made to appear so. I'm not disputing that. People might have recorded, but what I'm saying is, for example, if there is a first century Jewish Christian that affirms that Jesus was crucified, but he believes that Jesus is not God. He believes in the virgin birth. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
He believes in the virgin.
Okay, yeah.
You said okay. I thought you were going to
I'm agreeing. I'm done listening to you.
So he believes in the virgin birth.
Yeah.
He believes that Jesus is not God.
Right.
And he also believes that Nicene Trinitarianism or any form of deifying Christ is wrong. But he believes in the crucifixion. He's still a Muslim.
Okay.
He's still a Muslim because God said, "وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُم." It appeared to them. It's normal to believe at the time of Christ. That's what I'm saying.
Can I explain to you?
Have I answered your question? No, I want to know if I've answered your question.
You pretty much stole my argument, because I never made that claim, because the main thing was proven of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. That's the main doctrine of Christianity. Okay, forget about the deity of Christ. Forget about the laws. I'm not bringing that up here. Don't straw man my argument. The law itself, or Jesus Christ being God, does not itself prove Christianity. That proves who Jesus was. The crucifixion and resurrection, that proves the main foundation of Christianity. That's the foundation. If you want to go deeper to your faith, proving Jesus' deity and being saved by grace, that pretty much makes you a Christian. Why? It's because if you do not believe Jesus Christ was God, you're assuming he was another person. You're either assuming he was a creature or an angel, which is heresy. You're going against Jesus' teachings and his words. If you're saying that Jesus Christ did not preach about being saved by grace, you're again going against his teachings because you're saying that Christ died for nothing. We believe we are saved by grace. Why? Because Jesus Christ himself said that his blood is a new covenant for mankind. So these things make you a Christian, but it does not prove itself to follow Christianity. What proves Christianity is the crucifixion and resurrection.
Okay. So if that never happened,
No, make your point.
No, I was going to say, if that never happened, that means Christianity falls to the ground, right?
Pretty much. And if that did not happen, our faith was nothing. If we are preaching for nothing. If we are getting persecuted, we are getting persecuted for nothing. If Christ was never crucified, resurrected, we are still in our sins. We are still in our sins.
So an event over crucifixion, whether it was Christ or not, we don't dispute.
Okay.
We're not disputing that because we've come to an agreement that someone was crucified. Correct?
So now you're agreeing with that now, yeah? You're denying
I'm
it.
not saying that
Thank you.
Jesus was crucified, as in, was Jesus actually crucified? No, that's not my. Was someone put on the cross to maybe appear as Christ? Did something happen that people believe Jesus was crucified? Yes. Did it lead to, for example, mainstream Christianity? Yes. That's my point. If you want to make another point, we can talk.
Okay, now I want to go to the Quran because we've been talking about the Bible so many.
Go on.
I want to make your claim because you talked about your sources about Muhammad. So about Muhammad receiving divine revelation and authority from Allah, right? Muhammad, this guy. How can you trust these revelations and authority? It's from Allah when it's written in your hadiths that not only was Muhammad bewitched by demons, but he was also possessed. Okay, but he was also. Listen to this. Okay.
Bring up about why he was.
I don't. Okay. I'm not going to bring that. All right. I'll bring it up. Okay. So.
If you know he can denounce it.
Okay. Not only did it say he was bewitched by demons, but he was possessed by black. Okay. He was possessed by black magic. My question is to you. If I say to you, if it was apparent that I was possessed by black magic or I was bewitched by demons, no man in history would ever trust me for what I said, right? So why are you trusting Muhammad when he was possessed and bewitched?
Okay, number one, what did you say? You said that he was possessed by demons. Correct?
Bewitched by demons and possessed by black
Bewitched by
magic.
demons. And number two, he said that, what did you say? I'm just...
Possessed by black magic. Like magic was done upon him.
Okay, number one, he's going to claim that this denies his prophethood, correct? It could deny his prophethood. This is one thing
It clearly does because the Old Testament clearly in the book of, it says that if anybody is has magic done upon them, they're pretty much a false prophet.
Okay. He mentioned the Old Testament. I'm gonna bring up 2 points from the Old Testament. Number one is Deuteronomy 18:27. I'm gonna bring it up.
I think we haven't done some research. We need to do more reading. That one, I need to hear that one. I haven't heard that one.
I'll bring it up.
And then Deuteronomy. There's a lot of claims.
I'll summarize it.
It falsifies prophethood because he was meant to be the greatest example for mankind.
Are you reading it now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You gotta hear this. Yeah,
It's got the evidence.
I think I got it. Let me find it.
Oh, nearly got the evidence.
Oh, okay.
First of all, Sahih Bukhari. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll show you. Let me read it out. Sahih Bukhari 3175. I will show you. Let me read it. Once the Prophet was bewitched, so that he began to imagine that he had done a thing which he had not done yet.
Okay, can I see?
Hallucination.
Can I see?
Okay. Sahih Bukhari 3175. Is a screenshot there, by the way.
Why did you screenshot it? Why didn't you show the chain?
I can get on the internet. I can get on the internet if you want. Because what you want to do, they want to go to the Arabic because they want to play semantics.
Okay, he quoted a source. He didn't show the chain of narration. He didn't show if the
Sahih. What does Sahih mean? Authentic.
Okay, it's authentic. But sometimes, even if the chain of narration is correct,
you're cherry picking. You're cherry picking now. When anything goes against your own, your own desire, you want to go against it.
Go for the evidence first. Then we ask more questions.
You already showed me the evidence.
So you agree with the evidence?
So you saw it.
I agree with this hadith 100%.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
disputing.
Okay, we can carry on. That's cool.
The problem is if he wants to dig a hole for me, he digs a hole for himself as well. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Because number one, if
I don't believe what Muhammad says. Not digging me a hole.
Double burial.
Number one.
Was Jesus possessed? Okay, show me in the Bible where Jesus was possessed by black
I
magic.
never made that. You're straw manning me.
No, show me in the
Can I
Bible where
speak?
Jesus was
Can I
possessed by
speak?
black
Can I ask you a
magic.
question? Can I ask you a question? Please.
I'm bringing that upon you. Show me where Jesus
I
was
never
possessed by
said
black
that.
magic.
You're straw manning me.
I know, okay, but show me. It's a question. Show me where Jesus was possessed by black magic, because I am showing the world how better Jesus Christ was than Muhammad. That's what I'm showing.
Guys,
Can I speak now?
Let's
bring it down a bit, yeah? Let's keep it cordial.
No, boss, please, let me stick to
Bro, they're having a nice conversation. Just
Afterwards. Let him go. That's what.
Do you even know you speak?
Nah. I talk to you afterwards.
Let's speak after.
Please don't interest him, please.
Thank you.
Okay, number one, Deuteronomy 18, no, Deuteronomy 18, 20, 21. It says that, number one, if anyone speaks against what the law of Moses speaks, then he cannot be a prophet. Correct? And then number two, please don't interrupt me, please.
Okay.
I can see it coming out.
Okay.
Please don't interrupt me, please.
Okay.
I don't interrupt you.
I'm not interrupting you. Go. Wait, I need to bring the evidence.
I already started. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Because I don't want to lose my thought, my train of thought.
But you haven't answered my other question. First,
Let me answer it.
You're going to Deuteronomy. Go to the answer your question
Number
first.
two.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, number two. For you to claim that a sin denies prophethood or denies revelation.
When did I say that?
A sin.
When I say sin?
Yes.
Did I say sin? I didn't say sin.
Bro.
Did I say sin? Answer me. Did I say sin?
If Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was bewitched, is that?
No, but did I say sin? That's not him. That's not himself doing his sin himself. That's him being defeated by the devil. That's not him sinning in himself.
Okay.
How's that sin?
We'll get to the point. Okay, read the hadith. I wanna
Okay.
read it.
Okay. First of all, I'll get the other one up as well, where I mentioned.
Okay, read
First
the one that we're
okay,
talking
I
about,
will.
'cause I don't wanna lose my
It's
train of
first of all, Sahih Bukhari 5765. It says, magic was worked on Allah's messenger so that he used to think he has sexual relations with his wives while he actually had not. Hallucination, which could only be from the devil. Okay.
Number one.
Sahih Bukhari 3175. Once the prophet was bewitched, so that he had begun to imagine that he had done a thing which in fact he had not done.
Okay. Is that it? Can I speak now?
Yeah.
Okay, number one, I know this story. I've studied the story. Number one, there was a Jewish woman, she did black magic on him, supposedly. That's a claim. Okay, he must have slept and he woke up with he slept with his wife Aisha. He didn't have intercourse with her. But when he woke up, he thought he had to do ghusl. He thought he had intercourse with his wife when he didn't. Correct? He thought he had to do ghusl. Number one, this kind of bites your own foot. Let me tell you why. Because for you to accept this narration, you also have to accept that angels told him that there is a woman who's doing black magic against him.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I even
So you agree?
Listen. I even agree that later on, according to your sources, that Allah apparently gave him 2 surahs to recite and he got healed from the black magic. But the point I'm making is still that this prophet is meant to be the greatest example of revelation for mankind, and he still got affected by it at one point. When I look at Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, my God, he never got defeated by Satan. When Satan came to Jesus in the wilderness, what happened? He defeated every single temptation. Every single temptation he defeated. And he himself casted out demons in his name.
Clearly in the source, for you to accept that he was supposedly defeated by Satan,
at one point of time.
Number one, it contradicts the majority of the Islamic sources that say the opposite. Number one. Number two, for him to be defeated by Satan, it doesn't make sense for you to deny that revelation came to him, but then accept the rest of the hadith that says that angels came to him.
I agree with that though. I agree with that.
That angels came to him.
Yes, but I believe, as the Bible says, that. No. I agree with that. I'll explain to you. Don't. I agree with that. Angels came to Muhammad, but the funny part. Let me explain. The funny part is the Bible says that when an angel comes to you, right, and preach to another gospel, let them be cursed, because it says even demons can disguise themselves as an angel of light. So it was not an angel came to Muhammad, but it was a demon telling Muhammad all these good things, right, to perceive that he was an angel. But there was one lie in there, that Jesus Christ was not crucified or he was God.
According to the Old Testament, can Satan curse Satan?
Can Satan curse Satan?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Are you talking about the New Testament
No,
verse?
I said the Old Testament. Can Satan curse Satan?
Can Satan curse Satan?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the verse. Can you bring it up?
I'll show you the verse. This is a problem, because if Satan can curse Satan, then it is not Satan who is cursing Satan, because according to the Old Testament, Satan can't curse Satan. And every single time we recite the Quran, what do we say? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So clearly, if Satan curses Satan...
Bring the verse up,
I will. Someone hotspot me, I don't have data, my data ran out. Like, literally.
I got you. What do you want? Do you need a Bible app?
Yeah.
Go ahead, 10%.
Can I use Google as well? That's good.
Yeah, 100%.
Can you show me?
All I know that Satan, as far as I know, Satan, as I've studied the devil does many tricks, plays many games because he becomes like a roaring lion. So he will play many tricks and games to think that Christianity is not the truth. So he can go against his own self to prove the Bible is false.
Let him bring up his verse. I had the Bible up if you wanted to use that.
But let this be the last question. We draw a line, man, because it's been a long one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very quickly. Can I follow you on Instagram?
I haven't got Instagram.
Bro, get on it.
I might invite it.
It's good. Yeah. Don't shoot good videos.
Serious. What's your name?
I like you guys have kept this cordial, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been a really good.
This guy's a good guy. He's a good guy, man. Good guy.
I hope we get that one. I hope we got all of that.
I'll be honest, I can't find the verse.
Yeah, because there's no verse. I've
I've
looked
seen
into
the
it.
verse
I've looked into it. I looked into it right now. There's literally nothing there.
There's a verse.
Bro, draw on the
Like
line.
paraphrase on Google. Like paraphrase.
Remind me of your
Nice one.
Remind me of your claim. Remind me of your claim.
So yeah, my claim was that I made. But we draw a line now. But I made the claim in it. I made the claim that it was that the demons himself, they can cast themselves as angels of light. So I believe that Muhammad saw angels, right? Because I know many people who are Hindus, who are Sikhs, but they said they have seen angels. But these aren't actual angels but they are demons. Because the Bible said that if somebody comes to you and proclaims another gospel, let them be accursed. Because even demons can disguise themselves as an angel of light. So I believe that was not a angel came to Muhammad, because when he was in a cave of Hira, the angels choked him like this 3 times, they gripped on him 3 times. Muhammad later went to commit suicide.
Being insincere.
That angel didn't. I'm not. It's in your sources.
Okay,
the angel it gripped him on 3 times. I was like this. Yeah. So it gripped on him 3 times. Okay, gripped on him 3 times.
Be sincere.
Okay, it gripped on him 3 times. I'm just paraphrasing the words.
Notice
And
how
I'm
one time I
paraphrasing.
haven't misquoted the scripture.
You have.
One time.
Just right now the verse.
I didn't bring a verse.
Bring
I
the
didn't
verse.
bring a verse. I didn't bring a verse.
Yeah, but you couldn't find it. So you lied. It's a lie. It's taqiyya. It's taqiyya.
I took it back.
You took it back. Thank you.
I literally took it back. I haven't misquoted scripture once, and you have multiple times.
Okay, so the angels greet Muhammad 3 times. They did not come to him greetings like in any other times when the angels come to people with greetings. So Muhammad never came with the greetings. Muhammad later someone to try and commit suicide. I believe this is all demons playing a trick to Muhammad. That's what I believe.
Okay.
But it's nice talking to me. I'm going to close out that, man.
Can I make one more
Wait, let him close and then
I'll let you close.
Number one, for you to claim that these angels were demons, it falls upon.
let the camera catch it.
Okay, for you to claim that the claim that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was actually spoken to by a demon and not an angel is relied upon the New Testament, because the New Testament is what claims if an angel comes to you preaching a new gospel, then it's not an angel, it's a demon. And I've already showed you guys.
I didn't just say that.
You did.
I said not only that,
Yes, but that's what I'm
but
getting
because
at.
of Muhammad's
That's what
later
I'm getting.
life
I know,
as well.
but I'm getting at that
You're being
verse.
insincere now.
I'm getting at that verse. But what I'm saying is that, see, I lost my train of thought now. You see,
But bro, we're drawing a line now, man. I'm going to go to Mansour now, man.
Hold on.
I'm going to
You
go
were
to.
saying it has to become the New Testament.
okay, yeah, and I've already showed you guys that the New Testament is not reliable. I showed you at the start of the text.
But I didn't just say that. I looked at you. I said your sources as well. I said your sources as
I
well.
literally showed
That
you
was
guys.
your point.
I showed you guys that the New Testament is unreliable. It's completely unreliable.
Okay, that's all.
Disagree?
Talk about. That's all.
Good conversation.
Tutti